Good evening and welcome to Douglas Politics. And yes, we're still enjoying Indian Arrival Day. Well, boy, sport in a total mess. What I could say, Shamfa is the Minister of Sport because she does walk a half marathon. Douglas Camacho, the biggest goat in the history of sport, is the chairman of the sport company and nothing going on in sport. Or look down in Grandy, a facility that we built from since early. All them had to do was finish it off. 6 years now, they can't finish it. It mash up, it fixing the floor. They hoping to get money from Shamfa. Then they say they have work to do. And all Douglas Camacho could say is, yes, we hope we get more money. But they just had the mid-year review. Dougie Douglas, your old P&M clown, they didn't give you any money because the P&M does not believe in sport. So you sit there, you so love hockey. Gary Griffith was commissioner of police. He come in, build a whole fresh new AstroTurf. And you there, 3 years longer than Gary Griffith. And you can't fix the turf at the National Hockey Center. Far less for constructing. You should have built about 12 turfs so that our children could play hockey all over Trinidad and Tobago and we could unearth talent. No money, no respect. Rowley don't care about you and he gave you a minister who know less than sport, yes, than you. So that's why we are in a mess. And that's why your people have to understand elections have consequences. The UNC in sport, check this side. The PNM in sport, check that. What you want me to say? Make it make sense. As we stay in there, you could push it back up there, no, Archie. Don't let the beautiful Shamfa. I see somebody send me a video of her exercising, man. Yes, Shamfa, girl. Yes. Very good. I didn't know working rope does change your color. Eh? You have a special gym. When you go on your wave rope and thing, Archie, you just get lighter, you know. What gym is that? It have fluorescent bulb in that gym. But I was coming down south to watch the Champions League final. I went to upside down in South Park, line with the South boys a little bit. And as I passing Chaguanas, I listening to my boy JJ on the radio and thing. And he bigging up the under 16 girls basketball team. They were they were doing a fundraiser in Chaguanas to raise money to represent Trinidad and Tobago in basketball. They were doing like a curry queue or a barbecue or a shrimp queue or something. Imagine that national team had to go and do curry queue, barbecue and shrimp queue because this is the minister's sport. But if Kamala was the prime minister, all the under 16 girls would have had to say was, thank you.
Sound the check 1, 1, 2. Sound the check 1.
Elections have consequences. I feel so ashamed that my athletes have to be fundraising because PNM don't care. And then basketball is a black people's sport. And black African people are the greatest players, well, except Doncic. But the greatest, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, come down the, okay, or they could take a Larry Bird, but come down the line, and it's a black man, black woman sport. No help. Elections have consequences. So while she have people doing curry queue, when Kamala is there, sportsmen and sportswomen only have to say, thank you. Now, Archie, you ought to help me with this. In a rankings list, right, like when media, use Atlantic Media. So if we're going to give a message or something, you know, like if we have a holiday like Indian Arrival Day, Eid, Diwali, Christmas, Easter, you know, some kind of Labor Day, you have a sort of a order of priority, right? So who will listen to your message, what following you have, that kind of thing, who more influential, not so Archie? So you might start with the prime minister, then you got the president, you got the leader of the opposition, you got members of parliament, you might put senators, you might have some mayors, you might have councillors, you might have some sports people, you know, to give a message. Not so? So, Archie, explain this one to me. Explain to me how the Express newspaper on Indian Arrival Day, if we agree that you must have some influence, or you know, people want to hear what you have to say, you have a following, maybe church leaders, religious leaders, pundits, imams, you know, with large followings. Archie, you will print their message for because the people, you want to sell papers and you want, so, you know, well, Archie explained this a minute, how the Express went and find Bo and Vasant. How them qualify to give an Indian Arrival Day message. What them leading, where there is. So once you vex with Kamala, you get rank. So Kamala so powerful that when you vex with Kamala, he give up. He had nothing to do. He had no party, nobody. He afraid to him go in an election. This one here, well, he clueless. He leads no one, has no one. He's eating roti with knife and fork. How the Express get and check the big picture, who them leading? You see, this is what I don't understand. And that's what you all have to understand in this country. That's how they divide and rule and keep the PNM in power. Who care about what Bo had to say? Who Bo leading? Bo about what he form a party, what he is doing. And this one, he's a Vex UNC who also in the PNM roadmap committee, who supporting he? But the Express finds these two clowns to give them the prominence, so-called, for the Indian Arrival Day message. Really? But not a UNC MP. They couldn't find Lakram Bodo. They couldn't find Michelle Benjamin. They couldn't find Vandana Mohit, Khadija Amin. They couldn't find Rudal Munilal. They couldn't find none of them. They couldn't find Jolene John in the Senate or Damian Lyde or Jayanti Lakshmi there. No. Them is no. You have to find this. If you add two of them together, they have about 3 supporters. And between them, there are 2 wives. So 2 wives plus 1. Nice. But let's move on now. So the Prime Minister's Indian Arrival Day message. You know, last year he had one of the worst. Well, I think he may have even gone worse than that. Let's read. Prime Minister Keith Christopher Rowley, we cannot move forward with divisiveness. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is urging citizens to understand that this country cannot confront the coming challenges with divisiveness and misinformation designed to create political mischief and fears. Now this is a celebration of Indian Arrival Day, 1845. 227 Indians from India took a journey with fear, or not knowing where they would end up, if they would survive, brave, coming to a new country and started to build it from the bottom up. And this man start off a message. This clown y'all elected, this divisive, disgusting double-stuffed Oreo, start off by talking about divisiveness. Why? You're implying what? That Indian people dividing because they don't like you, because they don't agree with you, because you are heartless, because Indian people do not like teachers who have sex with girls of school age. They don't like pathological liars. They don't like a corruption web. They don't like people who do not fill out the Integrity in Public Life Act form. They do not like people who put their lawyers in charge of the oil sector, collapse it, shut down Petrotrin, and treat workers with disrespect. They don't like people who are misogynistic and disgusting and believe that men must groom women. That's what you're saying? Indian people are divisive because they agree with everybody else that you are the worst human being to ever ascend to prime minister? Divisive because they don't agree with you? You who discriminate against Indian people, open fire discrimination, geographical discrimination in all the areas where East Indian people live. You, let's go on to him. He continues, Rowley, leave him there, leave this clown there. He continues to admire the entire community for their ethic, their work ethic, their thrift, and varied traditions. Really? So Indian people, they just work hard and they're thrifty? That's what you admire about Indian? Not their bright, their brilliant, their creativity, their business sense, their family, their community, their adherence to their religious practices, their building and their patriotism, their stamp of Trinidad and Tobago, their pride in our sportsmen and sportswomen, their ability to build this country, to move forward, to unite with Africans, to bring change across Trinidad and Tobago. You ain't like none of that. You find Indian thrifty. He continued, this is the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We have maintained institutions in Trinidad and Tobago of political liberty and continue to work towards social equality and racial fraternity. Who is working? You have carried Trinidad and Tobago so far backward on the racial divide that we may never even recover. Every word out of your mouth, every policy you implement, the distribution of resources shows that you don't like Indian. You sick human being. And you come in to spew these words? You want harmony and unity? Resign. Resign from the office of Prime Minister that you stole through lies of Emailgate and continued lying and the hijacking of the EBC. And we have political liberty. We have no political liberty. People in Laventille and Beetham vote 10,000 to smell Tutu water for 8 months. You call that political liberty? You have not built a school. You cut gate funding. You cut cost at MIC. You are keeping our young people in a state of flux with no jobs, no education, no independence of thought. All they could say is Bali say. You play banana politics, monkey politics, and black man versus Indian, dividing this country, and then, we have political liberty. You who put a speaker with blue hair to allow you to scream and shout at others and do what you want, but suspend Saddam Hussein, a strong, blessed Muslim, out of the parliament for a week. You talking about political liberty? You are a total, complete fraud, sir. He continued. In January 1955, he indicated that Eric Williams is on record back in January 1955 as stating, every step in the education of Indians is a step in the production of that well-informed body of citizens on which democracy depends. Oh, you took that quote from Eric Williams? That is all. You didn't take the recalcitrant minority this time. You didn't take in 1956 when election called and he realized that white people were joining with the Indians in the opposition there, that he went into Woodford Square and created the initial divide to tell African people they must vote PNM. No matter if PNM do them anything, that black people, black pride is PNM, and that the white people and the Indians, that was the enemy. You didn't talk about that speech in 1956. You didn't talk about how he discriminated, just like you and your PNM, across the country against Indian people. You didn't talk about it for 30 years. There was no Hindu in the government or the cabinet from 1956 to 86, any PNM. They did not put one Hindu in the cabinet. You didn't talk about that. That is called equity. That is tolerance. That is respect and love. You don't even know your own PNM sickening history. And one thing PNM did, you see what Rowley admitted there? That Dr. Williams said, every step in the education of Indians is a step in the production of that well-informed body of citizens on which democracy depends. You see, back in those times, Indian people were mostly illiterate cane farmers. Still back then. The scholars in Trinidad and Tobago, under that colonial system with the Legislative Council coming, were African people. Scholars were African, Afro-Trinbagonians. But after 30 years of PNM policy, that flipped because the Indians took care, realizing that they would never get political power. And Indian groups, Indian families, Indian religion, Hindu religion, Muslim religion, they realized that education was the key. The Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha and other groups started to put schools, you call them cowsheds, and now, for the last 30 years, when you see doctors graduate, majority is Indian. You see lawyers graduate, majority is Indian. You see business and conglomerate and businesses opening up is Indian, because they did not have the yoke of the PNM to hold them back. And when you look at my black brothers and sisters now, who were the scholars, you are seeing in Labrador and Tobago the lowest SEA results, the lowest CAPE certification. You are seeing across the board that the majority of those who are struggling in the education system to get a piece of the pie, and this PNM policy to leave them alone and not support them. When in 2017, 810 children got 0 in SEA. 810 were Afro-Trinbagonian. After that, when I was on the radio, they stopped giving out that statistic. Now you change scholarship to bursaries rather than to get back to basics, where the Africans could compete in academia with the Indian brothers and sisters. Do not get carried away and be jealous of others who have worked hard and put the emphasis, their parents and their discipline on the books, where Dr. Williams said the education is in the books. But then he took education away from the children, just like you. You cut GATE from 726 million under Kamla to 300 million. You cut funding to COSTAT, MIC, MIT, UTT, all across the board, sport, culture. And then you come to talk about Williams said to educate Indian. Indian educate Indian without PNM help. That's why them going good. We must remove PNM off of the backs of black people so that they could then get back to the heights of education and brilliance in the masses as they used to be. So you want to save Trinidad and Tobago? Resign and get rid of the PNM out of Trinidad and Tobago, out of black people's life. Rowley continued, the Prime Minister reiterated that this country is armed with resilient people who have overcome obstacles and blockages in the past. As such, I have no doubt that citizens will not allow any disruption or destruction of our social fabric. Yes, I'm glad you have no doubt, because you know what, sir? You are the destruction of the social fabric. You are dividing and destroying this country, and the people are resilient. And just like in 1922, 1962, 1971, 1970, 1986, and 2010, the people will remove the blockage, and the blockage is you. The darkness is you. The divisiveness is you. The evil is you. The people will remove you from labor, from teachers, from workers, Indian, African, Hindu, Muslim, Rastafari, Orisha, Baptist, Christian, Catholic. All will remove you, because you are a disgrace to this country. As we talk about disgrace to the country, that same man puts his personal attorney in charge of Heritage Petroleum. And Heritage Petroleum puts up this, Archie. Archie, this is what they put up for Indian Arrival Day. The message from Heritage Petroleum. Let's put it up. Let's read what they put up. Today we commemorate, and look at the name of the company created by Rowley Heritage when he shut down Petrotrin against all the advice, 64 million in advice. When Winfred Espini and the board never told him to shut it down, he shut it down because a man tell him, you better shut down that, because if I go down, we all go down. Listen to Heritage, Heritage, the name. The name should mean Indian, African, Syrian, Chinese, all heritage, all religions, And on Indian Arrival Day, this is the message from A.A. Kwamina, personal lawyer of Keith Christopher Rowley. He is the man in charge of Heritage. Today we commemorate the arrival of the first Indian indentured laborers to Trinidad under Fatal Razak in 1917. Well, 1917 was the SS Ganges, and that was the last time East Indians came on a boat from India. The Fatal Razak, but it was really spelled with an O originally, came in 1845 with 227 Indians from India. That is what them put. And then Archie, after they put that out into the world, into the atmosphere, into the internet, into the public, to disgrace the very heritage of Trinidad and Tobago, but it shows what Rowley is about and what his people are about. They're not about understanding, respect, loving everybody, and reading and educating themselves so that they can have a sort of policy that will embrace all. They're about themselves and themselves alone. Look what they put after, Archie. Heritage Petroleum, Happy Indian Arrival Day. An internal unedited draft of this greeting was previously circulated. We wish to share this final version as we commemorate Indian Arrival Day. You did not even have the class and the character as espoused by Indian people in the community and the way they discipline their children to say sorry, we erred, we did nonsense, we did stupidity. You talking about an unedited draft? How the draft even became to be drafted? Who's the idiot who even found that nonsense to create a wrong draft? And the draft, a draft that is disseminated cannot be a draft. It is sent out. So you call this an apology? This is the arrogance of the stupidity of the PNM. And then they come here, put an ad, $15,000 in each newspaper for this, supporting our communities. Which is our communities in heritage? Because all you certainly don't like Indian. Because you ain't even bother to get the correct information when Indian reach. So maybe instead of putting support our communities, put Rowley and A.A. Kwamina supporting PNM communities in Balize House and only studying history based on Balize information. Put that, because you should be reading a history book. Heritage, A.A. Kwamina. You should read a racial sensitivity book. Or maybe you should read a book entitled Love Indians Too. A.A. Kwame, shame on you. And you're an attorney. You're supposed to be bright, complete dunce, and come into ball, put in that and say, oh, it was a draft. The only thing drafty is when you put on your big suit after you tie your belly now and get skinny. The draft does blow under your arms. Disgrace. And then our next one, the Minister of National Security. Let's put up the Minister of National Security of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, where every creed and race finds an equal place. Let's listen, let's read this sativa-loving imbecile, member of parliament. Yes, and we all vote. Imagine, I have to say member of parliament because you people, yes, Afro-Trinbagonians, African people, black people who used to be bright before PNM, all you vote for this dance. What you want me say? Listen to this one. Happy Arrival Day from Laventille West with a set of red thing inside it. That Happy Arrival Day, it's Indian Arrival Day. You disgusting imps. Look at him, sativa, dreaming of it. Heritage Petroleum records gross profit of 2.4 billion. This is very interesting, actually. I'm seeing in the Sunday, May 29th, the Business Guardian. Joel Julian writes, and like Joel Julian, he just print out exactly what Kwame says. And he says, after paying more than 1.27 billion in taxes, Heritage Petroleum Company Limited recorded a net profit of 682.7 million. Right? Heritage recorded revenue of 6.8 billion for the year, which Kwame stated was driven by improved crude oil prices. Year on year, overall crude production grew by 5% to 41,200 barrels per day. They also said that because of their disciplined approach to cost management, this has contributed to a profit before tax of $2 billion. This represented a 97% increase when compared to 1.6 billion made in 2020. A 97% increase. No, something had to be wrong. They probably Joel Julian or Kwame got it wrong. Right? Because a 400 million improvement cannot be 97%. So one of y'all got it wrong, but we'll double check, right? A.A. Kwame then continued, as of the date of this publication, I am pleased to report that the company would have successfully closed the refinancing of the senior secured debt of the group via a tender offer for the TPHL 2026 notes and the issuance of a new Heritage 2029 US 500 million bond and a new US 475 million Heritage loan. Archie, isn't it amazing? Accounting is so beautiful that this fellow here, this lawyer, he takes the debt that is still owed, he refinances the debt, stretches it long to 2026 and 2029, and therefore it doesn't have to be reflected on this year's profit, and then tells you, hey, we take away $1 billion US, that's $7 billion, but we make 659 million profit. That's the creative accounting of the PNM. Because it was very interesting, because in a different business, the Business Express, now leave him there, because I want him to answer, because I read this here, and I could see the creative accounting. Because remember, there was a bullet payment, 850 million US of the Malcolm Jones PNM GTL nonsense that they take him out of court for. And all of that went on in the Privy Council, and the Privy Council laughing at us, and the PNM pulled them out of court. There was a balloon payment of 850 million US that was due way back in 2018 or something, which was putting problems on the cash flow of Petrotrin, and Rowley and them were lying and balling Petrotrin, losing money, and so it's not. It was the world GTL PNM nonsense. Well, Remember that 850 million? And remember, he just admitted there that they now extended through tender their loan. They finance it over a different period at an interest rate. They didn't tell us the interest rate for 2026 and 2029. Well, I'm reading from the Sunday after that now. I read from the Sunday 29 May, Sunday Express, the business section, by Anthony Wilson. Heritage profit declines by 33%. Now he just come out and put out a statement printed by Joel Julian in the Guardian. Oh, Heritage improved 97%. We increase our gross revenue and we may increase our profitability over 2020. But then Express comes and says Heritage profit declines by 33%. So I want to read. Heritage Petroleum Company, the wholly state-owned oil producer, declared an audited after-tax profit of $682.6 million for its financial year ended September 30th, 2021. A decline of 33% compared to the $1.01 billion the company earned in 2020. Heritage also reported a before-tax profit of $1.95 billion in 2021, which was an increase of 97% over the $991 million in 2020. That's where the revenue increase. It wasn't 1.6 billion. Someone got it wrong. But coming down here, we see that Quamina company refinances TPHL debt, Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited debt. In effect, Quamina's statement about Heritage closing the refinancing of TPHL senior secured debt means that the subsidiary Heritage is taking on the debt obligations of the parent, TPHL. In a July 1st, 2019 news release, TPHL announced the final settlement of the initial restructuring of Petrotrin's $850 million bullet payment. Now remember, the UNC's position was, do not shut down Petrotrin. With 64 million in advice, Lashley report, Solomon report, McKinley report, do not shut down Petrotrin. Leave it, restructure it, refinance the debt, right? Make cuts, talk with the labor union, get it more efficient. Do not shut it down. Rowley shut it down on his own volition. Because around that time too, Kamla Prasad Bisesa Bossa Mark that the PNM board that was later fired and the PNM Minister of Energy, Oliveri, had instituted an audit into what was known as fake oil, into oil just ballooning, involving plenty PNM. Rowley's friend, plus the next one who was a candidate against Kamla in Siparia, Dioki Singh, that we can't find nowhere. And that sent us cascading into the debt and deficit of energy sector, falling revenues like never before because Rowley shut down Petrotrin. But remember, there was that $850 million US bullet payment. TPHL had said it had accepted back then some tranches. The proceeds of the term loan facility will be used to repay the remaining 2019 notes, repay a shareholder loan, and pay fees and expenses associated with the exchange offers, the consent solicitations, and entering into the term loan facility. So in other words, creative accounting. The bullet payment remains, but it just spread out. And they come in to lie to you about profit and profit and profit, and Petrotrin shut down. And now they're trying to sell it to some sprangers. Very good. Elections have consequences. As we talk about sprangers, Archie, Peru is doing quite well in LNG. I saw an article, I think we might have an image of the article there from Reuters, where Peru is going, they're increasing their product and their output in LNG. In Latam, Peru streaks ahead in LNG race to Europe as Trinidad stumbles. But wait, Trinidad stumbles. But our Minister of Truth, our Minister of Brilliance, Our minister of everything big except the pin. This big boy with the small pin. And he went somewhere and tell the whole world that we in Trinidad and Tobago have excess capacity and we stand ready to supply Europe in any deficit from any war. We ready. And the whole country went, what this man talking about? And he was on quest. How he reached? Look, remind me, Archie.
Energy Minister Stuart Young says Trinidad and Tobago stands ready to ramp up production of gas to meet the world's shortfall from Russia. Speaking on CNN on Tuesday.
So how does the rest of the world, and in particular Europe, deal with this current crisis? You have to look at where there's alternative supply of natural gas, and hey, Trinidad and Tobago is one of those places. Height of production, we are pumping out about 770 million MMBTU of LNG a year on an annual basis. We have 4 trains, so we see the ability. We have additional capacity right now, Richard, and we are eager to step in to assist in what is going on globally.
You know, I could only laugh, because if you don't laugh, you may tend to want to do something that is untoward. These people are pathological. 4 trains, it are 3 trains. And on top of that, the government, the shareholders, Trinidad and Tobago only have 11% of them train. Train 1 dead, like he, small pin. We have excess capacity. We do not even have contracts to utilize the existing industries that we have. After 11 industries shut down in Point Lisas, after his negotiation in 2017, and now Peru stands to make a windfall of revenue because them in Peru don't have PNM. We have PNM and we stuck with it. Woodbrook residents complain of increasing homeless people, right? While these people getting contract and recusal, and their brother in Woodbrook on the avenue, they move out from that small office now because it's only billions and billions of work, from 0 to 4 billion after this clown swear in to be a minister in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. His brother Angus, the only good thing named Angus is a steak. $4 billion. But Woodbrook residents complain about the increase in homeless people. While them could get money to buy extra home, and he's not a millionaire, but the Benz is 2 million and all kind of thing. The citizens are going into poverty further and further. More people are becoming homeless. Woodbrook residents are concerned about an increase in socially displaced people taking up residence on the streets in the area. At the Port of Spain Corporation monthly statutory meeting at City Hall on Friday, resident Sterling Piper complained to Mayor Joel Martinez. But Martinez tell homeless, but don't live on the street, go somewhere. And Joel Martinez, hey Joel, it a email gate, it a Delcy gate, it a HDC gate, it a INES gate, it a vaccine gate. Now it have gate stolen from Lord Harris Promenade. Actually, Port of Spain Mayor Joel Martinez has called on the police to investigate the disappearance of a gate at Lord Harris Square. You call on the police, but tell Rowley to tell all your police commissioner, the 6th place man, six man, he could play in the NBA finals, he'll be the top 6 man. Why don't tell him investigate the gate? Because Rowley giving instruction, tell him who to investigate, where to investigate, how to look. Well, let him look to find the gate. Guyana and Barbados deepen ties. 2 bright people, President Irfan Ali and Prime Minister Mia Moore Motley, deepening ties. And the only thing we deepening here is deepening the Lekoto darkness.
Good evening to the United National Congress. Good evening to all of our online. I know that we are 10 minutes into the T&T Speaks, the UNC T&T Speaks. A special good evening to the political leader and everyone who's logged in. So we are 10 minutes away, and I just want to have a short chat with one of the counselors, one of the youngest counselors under the United National Congress, Chris Hussein. So Chris, if you don't mind, would you come and share the space with me? Hi, Chris.
Chris, that's kind of weird to say.
Yeah. So before we even start this, my question is, are we the same person?
Well, that depends. I mean, we have the same name, and I have to apologize because the field that I've gotten myself into would probably be a little bit problematic for you. So I apologize for that.
No, it has. And a lot of people ask me if I'm Counselor Chris. And I've said no so many times that now I'm going to start saying yes and signing autographs. So is that okay with you?
I mean, if you say yes, that's no problem. You could probably take some of the workload off with the road request and the drainage request and the flooding. You know, we're into the rainy season now.
Correct. I drove from Diego Martin to here. It took about 2 to 3 hours with the rain. But you are the councillor for Reform Manor, Hambre. This is your second term. How has that been compared to the first?
It has been exceptionally tough. Much like every other thing under this present administration, the PNM administration, things have been very tough. But like I always tell everybody when they ask me what it's like to be a young councillor, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Everything comes at you at once, and you're just expected to kind of, all right, keep your head above the waters and try to make do with very little. So it has been exceptionally tough, but I think that I have a real passion for it, and I think once you have passion, you'll be good to go.
And of course, we are having some technical difficulty.
Well, actually, a little more than a mobile office. What we did is we went to various points throughout the district, and we kind of took the services that we offered to the different parts of the district. And I actually had during the pandemic, I had partnered with another colleague of mine, Councillor Rajesh Lal. He's in the Lengua Indian Walk district, so he came into my district and we did a lot of things in my area, and then I went across to his and we did a lot of things there. So it was really an exercise in resource sharing when things were very scarce at that time, and we were faced with a situation where a lot of people were out of jobs at the time, and a plethora of health issues as well, as you can imagine. So it was a very difficult time, but thankfully I think I can say with a certain degree of hope that now we are trying to come out of that pandemic, and we're really happy to be on the end of it, and we're happy that we were able to do what we could have thanks to the goodwill of a lot of people.
You were also the former UTAM chairman and councillor, young, bright. What do you have to say to young persons listening on who do have some sort of interest in politics?
Well, I've always been a very big advocate for youth in politics, and I'm exceptionally moved and proud that I belong to an organization that has young people in every aspect of the political landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. You have them in the local government bodies, in the parliament, on the NATEX, in and around the party, and I think that the young people are really the driving force behind our party. So to any young person listening on, I would always say, if you have an interest in politics, go for it. If you have a passion for it, go for it, because you never know, you can be the one that makes that difference.
Thank you. And one last thing before we leave. There's a local government reform bill. What are your thoughts on some of these things that we're hearing in the media and from the PNM?
Well, I think the coming on board of the local government reform is really just a campaign talking point for the PNM, who have absolutely treated local government like a bastard child. for their entire stint in government, this time and in previous incarnations. I don't think, in my humble opinion, that the local government bill addresses the issues that we face in local government right now. It's a lot of talk. It has been passed, obviously, but I wait to see any sort of positive change. Of course, I would welcome it if it is something that will be to the benefit of the burgesses of my district and, of course, the wider Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, well, thank you very much, Chris. And we look forward to seeing more service from you.
Definitely.
All right. So, guys, we are 3 minutes away from the UNCT Antique Speaks platform here in Princestown. We have a dynamic lineup of speakers from the MP for Princestown to Barry Padara to Michelle Benjamin, and I believe the honorable political leader also will be speaking here tonight. So stay tuned, everyone. Stay locked on. Like, share, comment. Let us know what are your views, and do not move. Do not move. No, seriously, it's going to be really good. I think tonight's lineup is excellent, and the political leader is here. So keep looking on.
Good night, everybody. I'd like you all to please stand for the national anthem.
Forged from the love of liberty in the voice of hope and pride, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, alongside the blue Caribbean Sea, this unended
Thank you very much. I'll just invite you to just remain standing. I'd like to introduce Alderman Philip Gonzalez to lead us in prayer.
Let us all bow our heads, close our eyes as we pray. Our gracious God and Father in heaven, our hope in ages past, our help for years to come. We come before you this evening, O God, thanking you for health and strength, thanking you, Lord, that you is able to keep us and to sustain us and to guide us. We pray in a very special way for this meeting this evening. We pray thy blessing upon the head table. We pray thy blessing upon this community, O Lord. And we know, Lord, that while peoples are hurting, we know tonight they will get the message that better days are coming. Hold on, don't give up. So bless us, Father. Continue to guide us and lead us into this meeting, we pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Alderman. You can all have your seats. The Honorable Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, political leader, opposition leader, MPs present, MP Barry Padarat, MP Rodney Charles, MPs Benjamin, Mohit, Ratiram, Amin, my colleagues from the Princeton Regional Corporation, Councillor Gauri Rupnarayan, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Councillor Rafi Mohammed, Councillor Sean Premchand, Councillor Lashmi Narayan Ramdan, Councillors Chris Arshad Hussain, and all other colleagues, Alderman Vashti Suku, brothers and sisters of the UNC, good night and welcome to Princeton. Now, before I get into the battery of speakers we have here tonight, because we have a firebrand lineup for you all, I just want to share something before I introduce the first speaker. Now, we have now come out of a pandemic. I mean, it still is in existence, but restrictions are being lifted. We are seeing some sort of activity. People who have not had the opportunity to work can go out and work now. We are seeing sporting activities now coming back in the fray. You know, life is not where we want it to be, but it is somehow getting better. But unfortunately, the People's National Movement is in government. So what little semblance of hope and prosperity we may think we might have, it does not exist. For instance, people now start back working. They now start back earning. Boom. Increase in fuel prices. When fuel goes up, automatically food goes up. Today, just today, a joke of a Minister of Finance, sorry to say it like that, but it is a joke, wants to cut grants, complaining that $200 million in gate is too much. At the end of the day, we taxpayers, we pay taxes to educate our children because our children is our future. But we have a government that are telling us to cut spending, and then the Minister of Education will get up and say, well, we're trying to tell the university not to increase school fees. Well, where will they cut the 10% from? Now, our first speaker, Councillor Ramdan, he's been in this for quite some time. And I can assure you, when he finishes speaking here tonight, you all will be alarmed by some of the revelations. So please join me in welcoming him, Councillor Nello Ramdan.
Thank you very much, Councillor Alvin, Chairman, political leader of the United National Congress, and next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, members of Parliament, my fellow colleague councillors, senators, members of NATEX, you UNC family, brothers and sisters, good evening. We are here this evening on a very cold and chill night. But let me say that I'm very, very happy to see the turnout here tonight despite this bad weather. And by you being here tonight would really show your commitment and loyalty to the Honorable Political Leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the United National Congress. So give yourself a round of applause. You know, my colleague warned me not to talk for too long, but that's all right. I cut my time short this evening because we have with us a battery of powerful speakers who would bring to you information that you would really need. And like I always say, our activists, with you all, ourselves as councillors and so on, are the real people in this fight. Councillor Alvin would have indicated to you some of the challenges that we are facing currently by this dictatorship and dictator leader, Mr. Keith Christopher Rowley. I refuse to call him Dr. Keith Rowley because I can't really believe a man who has a PhD and a doctor could be so foolish. So I tend to not to want to say Dr. Rowley. So, my brothers and sisters, we are here tonight to share with you some of the concerns, some of the issues that are affecting you. And we know for a fact that your commitment here, you will be our voices on the ground. So whatever information that we will share here with you tonight and give you, we do hope and we know for a fact that you will take it back to your communities and share that and help us to spread the message and, as we say, the gospel of the United National Congress, so that our people out there and by extension Trinidad and Tobago would understand where we are and where we are heading under the leadership of the PNM and Keith Christopher Rowley. Brothers and sisters, there's so much that we could talk about and so much that we could tell you that I'm sure most of you are happy to come here tonight rather than sitting down in front of your television and looking at CNC3 or TV6 News. I know you're very happy to come here because the information that you'll get here tonight will really enlighten you to carry across the message of the United National Congress. My brothers and sisters, we as councillors are what you call first responders. First responders, not from ODPM, but in general. If you have any event in your community or anything of that sort, the first person you call is your councillor. You call your local government representative. If you look at, we in the hurricane season and the rainy season now, you'll see on your television, call your local government representative if a branch fall, if a tree fall, flood in your area, whatever the case might be. So we are really considered first responders to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. But we are not given the respect and the authority as first responders. We are not given the resources that is necessary to do what we're supposed to be doing to help you, the Burgesses. I know we have been trying at the Princeton Regional Corporation, and so too would be other corporations. With the limited, you see, I'm having to cut my time already. All right. Yeah, so, yeah. You know, other corporations will have a similar challenge. But I want to say to you, under the leadership of Councillor Gori Rupnine as chairman of the Princeton Regional Corporation, with the limited resources that we have, we are still able to achieve a lot within the municipality of Princeton. And I don't want to go into all of the projects and so on that we had completed and done during the years and in this last financial year. But just to tell you, with limited resources, we were still able to do as much as we can within the communities. I know that as councillors, we will not be able to satisfy all of your needs and all of your demands. And we are here to tell you that tonight, that we cannot satisfy the needs of everybody. But I know everybody will say, well, local election coming in and we go deal with all you. But I want to tell you tonight, the people you really have to deal with is the People's National Movement. That's the people that you really have to deal with, not the United National Congress. We out here, as ordinary citizens, everything is that we want to blame the UNC, we blame Kamala, we blame the councillor, the MP. But the real people to be blamed is that of the People's National Movement. And I want to tell you tonight, and I say that without any apology, you know. There's allocation, and Councillor Matura will go into that further to tell you with regards to how the allocations and so on gone. But you must remember that you citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, every time you purchase fuel, you pay something called road tax. Everybody who work in here pay something you call health surcharge. Every time you go to this grocery store, the hardware, wherever you go, you pay something called VAT. And that is taxes that you pay that you don't really count on. And those taxes are supposed to go to repair the roads and to do whatever is necessary within the municipality. But you hear now that this government is talking about local government reform. And in order for them to implement local government reform, they has to bring property tax. They want to introduce property tax on you so that they could tell you, we will use that tax money to help the local government reform, help local government so that we can fix your road and your street light and your water and all of the problems that you would have. But I want to tell you, and I want to ask you tonight, you have to answer, but I want to ask you tonight, the road tax that you have been paying for all of the years, if you are satisfied with the condition of the road. The health surcharge that you have been paying over the years, I want to ask you, if you are satisfied with the healthcare system in Trinidad and Tobago, and that in itself is a disaster. Disaster. So my brothers and sisters, I'm just telling you this, because the government is going out there saying that the United National Congress does not support local government reform. And they want to tell you that local government reform is going to bring all of the relief to Trinidad and Tobago. But here's what, only recently in the supplementary appropriation bill that they passed in Parliament, the Minister of Finance gave $100 million to an unknown company. $100 million to repair roads. If that $100 million were divided among 14 municipalities in Trinidad, I could guarantee you that most of the roads in Princestown, or in more than Princestown, the municipalities within Trinidad, would be able to patch, if not repair, all of the roads. And I'm just saying that to you to let you know that they tell you one thing and they do something else. We in Trinidad and Tobago tend to be afraid to come out and protest and all of that kind of thing when, you know, the increase in fuel prices, deplorable road conditions and so on, because you're afraid of the police and so on. Yes, we know that the government of the day is using the armed forces to their advantage and to ensure that we all are not, you see what I mean? Time up again, right? Anyway, like 2 times up again, right? But I just want to inform the people of Princeton one thing before I close. Most of us would use the Naparima-Mayaro Road. And I want to tell you, only 2 weeks ago, the Minister of Works and Transport instituted what you call a no parking zone on the Naparima-Mayaro Road. And that no parking zone is from the M1 Tascaro, the traffic light, to Lothian Junction. And the penalty for parking there or breaching that is $3,000. $3,000 if you breach that regulation or that no parking zone. And they made all the excuses. Councillor Matura, the chairman, myself, we met with all of the representatives after they instituted that, policy. And out of the information from the Ministry of Works, Traffic Management, what they said is that they're now going to implement that no parking zone all along the Naparima-Mayaro Road from Kokie roundabout to Mayaro Junction. So which means to say that there'll be no parking along the Naparima-Mayaro Road, which is the law. Nobody says it's not the law, but at the same time, there need to be some kind of consideration for persons living along those areas. I suggested to them that if the Minister of Works and Transport was very much concerned about the traffic congestion along the Naparima-Mayaro Road, he should try to fix the potholes on that road, fix the depressions and the landslips, so that he will ease most of the congestion, and the safety and security of the judges and magistrates that they indicated would be at risk at the Princeton Court, the new Princeton Magistrate Court. I told him that they ain't coming by the court to shoot no magistrate. They could shoot the magistrate anywhere on the road if they so wish to do. So let us not use the road and not use the court to say you want to implement that. But whatever they did, they do the thing and they went ahead with that. But I want to remind you, only last weekend, they paved from Kokie roundabout to Cipero Street in San Fernando, which is a good road. They paved that entire road and they refused to pave part or even help to restore the Naparima-Mayaro Road. So my brothers and sisters, as the time I wrap up here, I want to tell you that we all are here to support and to ensure that the Honorable Kamala Persad Bissessa is returned as political leader of the United National Congress and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. So once again, my brothers and sisters, we are in and around the internal election. Most of us would know that, and the only way that we could move forward and ensure that the Honorable Kamala Persad Bissessa stays as the Good night.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ramdan. So before I bring on the next speaker, I just have a very simple question I'd like to ask, and please feel free to answer. Who is the best leader the United National Congress has ever had? Sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you repeat, please? And who will be the next leader? Next speaker is no stranger to the platform. He has served the burgesses of Inverness, Princestown South for the past 11 years. Please welcome Councillor Derek Matura.
Thank you very much, Councillor Alvin, our chairman for this evening, our political leader, the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, and our leader who I fully endorse for the next internal elections, members of Parliament, government, and those viewing both virtually and who are here with us in your numbers. Princestown, good evening. Let me hear you all. Good evening, Princestown. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard and will continue to hear from our various speakers. And whilst we may vary in some of our topics, there's one thing that we have in common, and that is we all continue to suffer under this oppressive PNM government led by a dictator who needs no introduction. When you listen to our Parliament channel and our different platforms and hear our MPs and senators and our leader Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, there are so many questions that continues to remain unanswered from this government. Our own MP, Barry Padarat, has been championing the rights of children and their treatment in the state care. Not to mention, there are so many unanswered questions on various issues within the public utilities ministry that is shadowed by our very own MP. You ask yourself, what is the real priority of this government? We continue to be plagued with so many landslips, something that most of you are familiar with because you have been there fighting with us for the betterment of our roads. You live and you traverse on these roads. Schools continue to be neglected when it comes to receiving direct funding. And I spoke about this recently. When it comes to receiving direct funding on a timely basis, this is crippling the management aspect of these schools for our children and their betterment. And in the Princeton Regional Corporation, I chair 2 committees, security and finance. And it is reported, my friends, and most of you may have seen it as well, we are ranked number 6 in the world when it comes to crime in this little island of Trinidad and Tobago. Every day, my friends, people are dropping like flies, not from sickness, but from being murdered. It is reported that gangs are not just fighting each other, but infiltrating in our homes. Recently, I received a call from one of our former MPs, Neela Khan, on a matter. And she told me her sister, 64 years of age, it's alleged that last week she was raped and killed. Last week. I think they were running out of you. I think they have confirmed that it was murder, raped, and killed. This is what we are being faced with, ladies and gentlemen. Long time ago, you could have talked to a person, somebody passing by. You could say hello. Now you're even afraid to eyeball somebody or even watch them. You have to mumble. You even know what you're saying to your own self. You want to be respectable, but you don't even know what to say. That is the state we have reached. And I don't know what our Minister of National Security is doing. We say enough is enough, Princestown. Enough is enough. According to the latest report from TTPS, although there has been an insignificant decline in the region of Princestown for serious reported crimes such as robbery, larceny in both motor vehicles and dwelling houses, what is very alarming is that there has been a 65% rise in murders in Princestown. Do you feel safe in Princestown? No. Not at all. Can we say it's business as usual? Not at all. Ladies and gentlemen, I always use this analysis, which is always worth repeating. In the region of Princestown, there's approximately 110 residents based on statistics. Our allocation for development program for 2022 is $14.3 million. That works up to approximately $130 per person for development work within the region. My friends, that cannot even buy 3 bags of cement. If I go further out and out of that $14.3 million and take what is released so far, which is $8.9 million, that, ladies and gentlemen, works up to approximately $81 per person for development works at this point in time. $81 can't even allow you to make groceries to feed your own family. However, whatever allocation that is allotted to us, our burgesses are still assisted, and the little we receive, we ensure that it goes a very long way. Our financial statements for the corporation is audited and it's up to par up to 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, we can say now, and we have been suffering, fuel prices has escalated, crime has escalated, unemployment has escalated, the healthcare system has collapsed. Trinidad and Tobago has totally collapsed, friends. And we continue to say, enough is enough. We just celebrated 177 years of Indian arrival in Trinidad and Tobago. Do you think our forefathers would be happy to see where we have reached in this country? For what they have built through sweat and tears? We will be celebrating Emancipation Day in August. Can we say that we are free in this country? Free from what? Other countries are using our Caribbean counterparts as a means of proper transformational development for themselves to ensure a robust system. What about us? What about us? We are a failed example. The government continues to be incompetent in taking us forward. When we were in government, we could have seen the progress. Laptops, schools. We added value to people's lives under the leadership of Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Friends, we need to continue to unite as one. If we miss this opportunity, I can assure you it will be disastrous for us and the future of our generations to come. And as the famous Swami Vivekananda said, and I quote, "Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached." Let us continue the efforts to struggle for a better country. Long live our great party. Long live our political leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Matura. For those who are standing in the back, there are some seats in the front and to the side. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our colleagues from the Mayaro Regional Corporation. They fared the journey to meet us here tonight in Princeton, so thank you all for coming out. I'm seeing in the crowd here tonight, we have the General Secretary, Mr. Peter Kanai. We have some other MPs here. Party's PRO, Dr. Kirk Migo, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Before I introduce our next speaker, I really want to borrow from what Councillor Matura said. Now, as many of you would know, I have a young family, I have a young daughter, and I don't feel safe. And I am certain many of you feel the same way. You know, you're checking your door 3 and 4 times in the night because you don't know what could happen. I mean, I come from a very close-knit, quiet village, but for instance, these light poles, the cable, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're seeing fellas climbing up trying to cut down wire. This is what we face with. If they don't get enough fire, they go jump in my yard. So what is the point of the PNM? What is the point? Best to just call an election and put a party who's actually ready to lead, ready to take care of our people in government as well. Yeah? All right. So our next speaker, you know, before I got into politics, you always say about, you know, councillors waste their time, they do nothing. But our next speaker is a true testament of what hard work is. A son of the UNC, my chairman, Chairman Gauri Rupna.
Thank you, Councillor Alvin. Political leader of the United National Congress, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who will be arriving here shortly. Members of Parliament, our Member of Parliament for Princestown, we have the Member of Parliament for St. Augustine, the Member of Parliament for Naparima and for Muruga Tablan, and for Couva North. Chairman of the Chaguanas East, Chairman of the Rio Claro Mayaro Regional Corporation, my own colleagues at the Princestown Regional Corporation, and councillors at the Rio Claro Mayaro Regional Corporation, ladies and gentlemen, good night. I am not surprised that although today, when I came from council meeting, here was like a lagoon with about 3 inches of water, the entire waterways. The tent man was still trying to see what we can do. But I know for a fact the love the people of the Princestown constituency have for Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, that this evening here was going to be packed. I'm not surprised of that. I don't want to speak much about we at the regional corporation. Every councillor will speak about that, but we in Princestown tonight. So I want to talk about the work of the Princestown constituency executive, councillors, and member of parliament. What we are doing as a team in this constituency. We're not in government, so we cannot go and pave every road that people ask for or fix every box rain. But what we tried to do was to touch the lives of everyone in this constituency when they need it the most. And without the support of this government, with the member of parliament, myself and the team, councillors and executive, we walked through this constituency and we went to almost every single home during the pandemic and we distributed foodstuff, not from the government, but from private citizens, and almost every single home in the Princestown constituency received that support. This evening, I want to really commend and thank some of the business people from this constituency who came forward and assisted, and not only from this constituency. SNS Passad Supermarket of Rio Claro, JTA Supermarket, Ellie's Pharmacy of St. Julian, Devnarayan Ramsumir Contracting Services of Tablan, General Industry Limited of School Trace. And I could go on because there's a list, but these were the ones who came sometime month after month and assist us. We reached out to over 2,000 homes in this constituency, and we continue to do that because up to today, I was giving some homes in this constituency. Recently for Eid, we visited approximately 60% of the Muslim families within the electoral district of New Grand Tablan and make sure they had something for Eid. But what our government do, when we walk to home, single parent, the amount was telling us that the public assistance is now cut. And with tears in their eyes, they are accepting these foodstuff, praising us. We, as citizens of this constituency, must bind together more than ever to make sure that we never ever have to go back to a situation like this in this constituency. We experience what it is from 2010 to 2015, what this constituency was like. We want to achieve that again, and this government cannot speak about things are hard in this country. The gas price in this country today is over $8 a barrel. From 2010 to 2015, it never crossed $4 a barrel. They now have double the money that Mrs. Kamla Persad Bissessar had to work with, and she achieved so much. And we have that opportunity. Very soon, there will be an internal election in this party. So I don't want to talk much about the performance of the regional corporation tonight. There will be time for that. But for the last 6 weeks, I had been walking the district of New Grand Tablan every Thursday evening. And every single home that I visited, the cry was, we want to see Mrs. Kamla Persad Bissessar once more as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And they give the assurance that if an internal election is to call in this country at any time, New Grand Tablan, no one else will have any support beside her and her team. Many people speak about 2010 to 2015, but you all also know that we experienced government from 1995 to 2000. Yes, she was not the political leader, but for the older ones who have been really following the politics, you all will remember 1992, when this lady, at that time much younger and pretty the same way, entered the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago as a UNC senator. And she started then. And I want you all who will remember the hosting in 1995 to reflect in 1995. Every single political meeting in this country, she had to be there, because when she joined the party as a senator in 2002, the country sees someone side by side with Mr. Basdeo Pandey, who will take us to government in this country. She played a major role from 1995 to 2000, and in the build-up in the by-election in Pointe-à-Pitre, she was there in the hosting every single night when we win that by-election, and it was Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar who played the most important role to see Mr. Pandey become the Prime Minister in 1995. So her journey did not start from 2010 to 2015, and we will stand together to ensure that in the Princestown constituency, I know because of the stand I take within our own party, I might be making the cabal every single weekend. I am not afraid of that. Because in 2010, I saw what they had tried to do to Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar when she contested that election. And you know what? She take all that embarrassment, not only for herself, but she take it to make sure that our country is a better place. This year, make it 19 years I have represented the people of New Grand Tablan. And you all will remember in 2010, some of the foolishness that you are seeing now, it was then. And it was from our own colleagues then. It will be from our own people again. But we will do what we have to do to see this country return to government under the leadership of Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. You made a very, very interesting point there. The foolishness you'd have seen in 2010, you've seen it here again today. So, with the limited resources we would have, received this financial year, I was able to pave a couple meters of a street in Hadbargen. So a man comment on Facebook, in Bellarmine, you need some roads paved too. And I simply tell him, if I build a box drain, or I intend to build a box drain, how I go pave the road? These things need planning, these things need progress, you need time. How could I go and build a box drain and then how could I go and pave a road, and then come 2 weeks later to dig it up to put a box drain? It just can't work. You can't put the cart before the horse. The way things work, the horse would lead the cart. And thankfully we have a chairman in Councillor Gori Rupnarine, is why we could say proudly and loudly that Princestown Regional Corporation is one of the best run corporations in Trinidad and Tobago. And nobody could refute that. It's an irrefutable fact. Now, our next speaker is no stranger to the UNC. We've just had a son of the UNC speak to you. Now we have a daughter. MP Khadija Amin is what I call an inspiration to us young councillors, us young, elected representatives, because MP Amin has done it all, from being a member of council to a chairman of council to a senator, now an MP. She shows us not only the vision of our leader, but the purpose of our party, The purpose of giving young persons like myself and a lot of my colleagues the opportunities to advance themselves, to actually serve the people, and serve the people. So please join me in welcoming one of the daughters of the UNC MP, Khadija Amin.
Thank you very much, young Councillor Alvin. And a special good night to the people of Princestown and surrounding areas. Those of you who are tuned in to our live stream, I want to bring greetings to you on behalf of the people of St. Augustine constituency who are UNC and proud. I bring greetings to our sitting MP for Princestown, Mr. Barry Padarat, the very dedicated chairman of Princestown Regional Corporation, Mr. Gauri Rupnarayan. Our team, our UNC family at tonight's TNT Speaks. This is the voice of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Khadija Amin, and I mean business. Tonight, I listened to our councillors talk about the challenges that they face to do everyday, simple little things. I came to this meeting and I passed through the Brasso, Caparo Road, Todd's Road, come through Flanagan. And the condition of some of those roads, I hope all is sending real thank you letters to Rohan Sinanan. Because the state of the potholes is not potholes anymore, your landslips and so on. It is thanks to the neglect of people who do not care about the people, but only care about power. People like Rohan Sinanan and others who have neglected us. But when I recall that the PNM and the detractors, you know what they used to blame the UNC for? They blame the UNC for being a box drain government. And it is thank God for these box drain that we didn't have the sort of flooding we have now. It was not only box drains that the UNC built. It was not only box drain and roads that Kamla built. It was box drains, roads, schools, bridges, hospitals, police stations, pavilions, in every single part of Trinidad and in Tobago. There was no area that was neglected because it's a PNM MP. There are people who will tell you today that they had a PNM MP for many years, but it was only when Kamla Persad Bissessar was Prime Minister that they actually saw any work done in their area. That is the level of care and neglect Kamla Persad Bissessar led this country with as a Prime Minister. I remember the comparison between Kamla's VAT regime and Imbert's VAT regime. All you remember, when Kamla Persad Bissessar was Prime Minister, she removed VAT from every essential item, especially food. Do you know that books and computers for children were free from VAT when you imported them? And what did Keith Rowley government do? They came on the election platform and they said, we are going to make VAT 0%. All you remember that? We're going to reduce VAT. Their campaign promised to reduce VAT from 15% to 12.5%. And they campaigned on that. What they did not tell you is that all the items, the thousands of items that Kamla Persad Bissessar had made to have 0% VAT, they increased it from 0% to 12.5%. You see lie and deceit from the PNM? And who faces the brunt of it? It is the people. So when we have to compare what a government did, compare what you face in the groceries now. when we have to compare what we are deprived of today, we have something to compare it against. Because when Kamla Persad-Bissessar was Prime Minister, every citizen in this country benefited. The government is telling you, look, things bad, we have no money. Councillors being asked to cut their budget, they can't even fix a pothole. And it is the same in UNC as well as PNM corporations, you know, but the PNM fellas not complaining because they're happy to not perform. They don't care. Our councillors are out there facing the public, trying to see what they can do to assist. And in the meanwhile, the Ministry of Local Government, who depriving people of paving their roads and patching the potholes, they come and they say, we are going to give $100 million to a special purpose company that is not yet registered to pave secondary roads. The same money that Kamla Persad-Bissessar was paving roads with. All these years, they have been denying you these services. And then, guess what? 2022 is an election year. There's a local government election that is due. So they come to make a promise to give $100 million, not to your councillor to pave your road, but to their friends and family and financiers through a special purpose company. After years of neglect and abuse, they also come in this local government year to tell you that you're going to get more money. We say, ah boy, we're happy for that. We could pave some roads and fix some drains and bridges. You know what they're planning to do? They plan to bring property tax. And we in the UNC say a strong no to property tax in Trinidad and Tobago at this time. Now is not the time, as we are coming out of the COVID pandemic, where thousands of people have lost their jobs, where people cannot even put food on their table, for you to come and bring property tax. We will not support it. We will not support property tax at this time. No, it's not the time. But they want to get more money because this is a real piper government, you know. You ever see a piper remain in a house when you see family going away and thing? And they sell out everything. They sell the stove, they sell the fridge, they take out the window and sell it, they take out the electrical and sell it. They sell Petrotrin. They closed down state companies that were bringing in resources for this country. And now, they come in to mortgage you. They come in for your property. They come in for property tax. And if you cannot pay the property tax, they could take your property from you. What you worked hard for. So the abuse by this government is an opportunity for us to reflect. We have a local government election coming up, and this is an opportunity for us to say enough is enough and Rowley must go. Enough is enough. Enough is enough when we face high food prices. Enough is enough when they deprive us of roads and drains and then give $100 million to themselves to do the work that they have neglected to do. Enough is enough. Enough is enough when they come for your property because you cannot pay property tax. Tell them enough is enough. Enough is enough when every single day women and girls are being raped and murdered and the government cannot do anything about it. Enough is enough when we are the 6th most dangerous country in the world. We, right after Venezuela and Honduras and thing, you know, all you understand what this means? These are countries with total chaos and dictators. And who says Trinidad and Tobago does not have a dictator in government? They're wrong. The dictatorship of this government is showing. Their incompetence is showing. When we in the opposition, Rodney Charles, they're always abusing him because he's speaking out and he's not afraid. When we asked, well, thank God for Rodney Charles, your Prime Minister went to Guyana. But when Rodney Charles, who shadows national security, raised the issue of all these CCTV cameras that are not working, and Fitzgerald Hines, not a clue, I feel he need a next bat, he need a bush bat. When we come out and we tell the nation that another body was found in a repo and not a single CCTV camera has been installed. When the Minister of Public Utilities playing games, up to now we can't put street lights in the areas that are prone to crime. They're playing games with people's lives. I want to tell you that this Saturday in Arima, which is close to Aripo, the UNC Women's Arm will have a march from Herdes Park to the Arima Market. And I am inviting all of you who care about our women in this country to join the UNC Women's Arm and say enough is enough. Our political leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, has set the bar high when it comes to leadership of our country and caring for every single citizen. All over the world, she was recognized for her policies for ensuring that children had early childhood education straight up to tertiary education, for having laptops for our children, for having food on the table. Keith Rowley has proved himself to be incompetent and incapable. It is time for him to go. And I'm telling you that tonight to remind you that as we face a local government election, it is not just a chance for you to vote for your councillor and to vote for a road and box drain. This is a time to send a message. You must be ready to send a strong message that the PNM must go. You must be ready to send a strong message that it is time for the United National Congress to return to government and save this country. My brothers and sisters, my name is Khadija Amin. I am UNC and proud, and I support Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MP Amin. And just to remind you all, MP Amin mentioned the march on Saturday morning. It's Protect Our Women and Children. Come join us as we march against crimes against our nation's children, violence against women, no pepper spray, and the increasing crime rate. So please come out in your numbers, wear white. It's on Saturday at 7 a.m. at Herdes Park, Mount Pleasant. We start at Herdes Park, Mount Pleasant to the Arima Market. Our next speaker, now I am from Naparima, but I have PDs in Princeton, so I'm a bit split. And I am proud of my both MPs, I am. But MP Rodney Charles, I must say, they just doing what they want to know. They just doing what they want. You know why? Because he's smarter than all of them put together. When Rodney Charles talk, they just jump up. Oh, you don't know what you're saying, you waste your time, whatever. But then they just act. Every single press release, any contribution, somehow something does happen. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming him. My MP Rodney Charles.
Thank you very much. Bellman, ring the bell for freedom. Ring the bell. Chairman, my political leader, the United National Congress, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, colleague MPs, Barry Padarat, give him a round of applause. All your stingy. Colleague Michelle Benjamin, Khadija Amin, the warrior, the female warrior, of the United National Congress, Ravi Ratiram. I must say, oh, Vandana, Mohit, welcome, welcome. Chairman of the Princeton Regional Corporation, and I see my colleagues from Mayaro here, don't get jealous. But the information I have is that this is the best run corporation in Trinidad and Tobago. Don't get jealous, I say, only a second. Councillors of Princeton, councillors, UNC family, brothers and sisters. I come to you from Naparima, not from Bridgetown, Barbados, nor Georgetown, Guyana. I want to speak on an important topic tonight, an important topic, because you see, my colleague, MP Amin, spoke about the dictatorship that is taking place in this country. Dr. Rowley and the PNM wants to control every aspect of our life in this country. And tonight I want to talk to you about the CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice. I want to make the point that the only two institutions standing between dictatorship and democracy are Kamla Persad Bissessa and the UNC led by Kamla Persad Bissessa and the Privy Council. Now, all our institutions, all have been compromised. You remember a time our Calypsonians used to sing songs for the PNM and against the PNM? Our Calypsonians, they bought out by the PNM. The parliament is controlled by the PNM. The EBC, Elections and Boundaries Commission, controlled by the PNM. The judiciary, the presidency, the service commissions, the Trinidad, I think. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand that greatness is here. The Queen is here. Our leader is here, so... Oh, okay. Jump in the gun. So I would have told her if she had come that all our institutions are controlled by the PNM. Our trade union movement, when last you hear Roger went with a sole Petrotrin and Roger stand up and take that, it is only now when water more than flour he's having a demonstration against the government. The media, I could tell you that the media every day tries as hard as possible to push a PNM agenda. The DPP's office, and listen to this, the deputy.
Never let your problems get you down. Stay focused and hold your ground. Because what don't kill you should make you stronger. So my problems is like steroids, boy. I get my doses from all kinds of sources, and all of them still can't kill me now. You see, at them sink me under ISO, ride on the storm and just like a boat. So as the box me down, so I get up. They have to wonder how others get up, and every crack I see, I just see through. And by the help of God, I just get through. I just won't stop. I feel like things does come before blessings, but we have to be patient, yeah. Weeping and mourning in the night, but joy in the morning. But we just have to endure. You see, God, the way no night come, so you don't really need to lie down. Them say what was around comes right back around. I go wait until my time come. So from
Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome my leader, our leader, and who will continue as political leader of the United National Congress. You can have your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not have to say it over and over that Naparima, Princestown, Maruga Tableland, these three constituencies support Kamla Persad-Bissessar in the upcoming election. And I want to tell anybody who competing against her, don't And as I was telling you, we face a tyrant in Crete, Christopher Rowley, and the only institutions, two institutions, standing between democracy and dictatorship. The one institution is the UNC, led by no less a person than Kamla Persad-Bissessar. And the second institution is the Privy Council. You know why? They can't get their tentacles on the Privy Council. They cannot. So every other institution in Trinidad is controlled. They want to control everything. I was telling you, they control the media. They control the judiciary. They control Parliament. They control the IRO. When last you hear the IRO made a statement criticizing the government? When have you heard the TTPS? Well, you know how it operates. They're not appointing a commissioner so they could have an acting commissioner who they control. The Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard controlled the DPP's office, who has a deputy who said she introduced an illegal terminology calling looking beyond the four square of the evidence, which was in effect supporting the validity of the notorious email gate. The deputy of the DPP supported the notorious email gate. All have been compromised. All. So our country is collapsing. Some say we're going through. Under Keith Christopher Rowley and his Costa Nostra band of oligarchs. Those are people who get rich by knowing Rowley. All of them. And even then, we do not have any institution standing up for the poor people in Trinidad. And you ask, where is Merle Hodge? You ever heard about her? Where is Father Harvey? Have you heard about him? Where is the Law Association? Who is standing for us? And that is why we cannot leave her alone to fight the battle. We have to be with her. And I want to talk about a certain Anthony Vieira. Right? He wants to bring the CCJ to Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm telling him, not now. With respect, not with Kate Christopher Rowley. And while we admit that the judges of the CCJ are eminently qualified, but the timing is wrong, Anthony Vieira. Not this time. You know, sometimes I get worried about Senator Vieira and his selective outrage, often in favor of the PNM and against us in the UNC. When we raise concerns about the autonomy of the independent bench in Parliament during the debate on the president, remember? He reprimanded the opposition. He piloted a motion to condemn the UNC. If I'm correct, he described our behavior as more akin to a fish market. But hear the hypocrisy. He was silent when Prime Minister Keith Christopher Rowley lost his cool in Parliament, acted like a hooligan, telling me to get the hell out of Trinidad and Tobago and go to Barbados and Guyana. Absolute silence from Anthony Vieira. No. So if you're criticizing us for fish market behavior and our Prime Minister gets on like a hooligan, you're supposed to criticize him too, not so? To be fair. But he was silent. And the out-of-control behavior was condemned throughout the Caribbean and abroad. Even Market Vendor, you know him, rose to my defense. Not a word from Senator Vieira. My leader stood up in my defense, not Senator Anthony Vieira. His outrage about decency and good behavior in Parliament is being selectively applied in favor of the PNM and against the UNC. Not surprisingly, his motion condemning our behavior in Parliament and now this call for the CCJ are fully supported by the PNM. Anytime the independent bench is supported by the PNM, we get worried. So, as the young people would say, Senator Vieira, wheel and come back again some other time. Now, I'm talking about how we stand alone, the United National Congress. I do not have time to demonstrate how the institutional checks and balances are not working. Take Calypsonians. Long ago, you would hear Calypsonians attacking both the government and the opposition. I recall Sparrows. Do you recall this Calypso? When does someone become a good citizen? By Sparrow? Or get the hell out of here? Or we like it so, Sparrow? Or Chalk Dust? Chalk Dust and a Calypso saying, somebody in Whitehall mad. To have people living in Beetham opposite the Labas. He says, somebody in Whitehall mad. That is why today, no self-respecting member of the UNC will go to a Calypso tent or attend the annual semi-finals held at Skinner Park. That is why Calypsonians have to depend on your taxes and not on the goodness of their work. So in our parliament, which was intended to be an co-equal branch of government, functioning as a co-equal on equal terms with the executive, it does not happen. Certain joint select committees are chaired by cabinet ministers, which means you have a cabinet minister checking on himself. And you know himself to himself does not work. This third world approach of putting a cabinet minister in charge of a joint select committee is indicative of the dictatorship that we have to stand up behind our leader and fight if we're the last man standing. The executive in Parliament, you see it on Parliamentary Channel, how they will get up one day and say, the Prime Minister, we remove the standing orders and the Prime Minister will talk for as long as he wants so he could expatiate on us and gallery. And lie. That could only happen in a PNM dictatorship in Trinidad and Tobago. And mind you, don't get fooled with old talk. What the PNM does is tell us, you know, the UNC can't win. We will win. We will win. Take it from me. They like to tell us, oh, about our leader. Well, she is our leader. And to hell with what they think. We will support her to the end. And if we're the last man standing, I want you to put up your hand. If you are the last man standing, put up your hand with Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I want to see hands. We will never surrender. So, ladies and gentlemen, our service commissions, we saw it with the Police Service Commission, all controlled by the PNM, and they want to control us. Just yesterday, before I close, just yesterday in the Newsday editorial, they talked about the Integrity Commission. This is the commission that is supposed to check on us to see whether or not we are providing information about our wealth, whether we got it. You know what the chairman said in their annual report? He said that the persons working in the Integrity Commission are doing things to make sure that persons in public office are not allowed to fulfill their duties by carrying out and writing about the wealth that they acquired during the year. I could tell you, Barry Padarat submits his integrity forms every single year. Give him a small round of applause. Kamla, my leader, our leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, you never see her name in the papers. She provides the statement of wealth and assets every single year. Every single year. We do it, all our MPs. But they do not want to, because they want to control everything. I will just give, how the Newsday editorial ended yesterday. It said, and I quote, "Financial watchdogs are routinely subject to unflattering headlines. Even the judiciary, that most basic check against an executive, complained about resource constraints." So what they do is starve the corporations. And then you blame the corporations, but it's the PNM to blame. They starve the judiciary, and we blame the judiciary, but it's the PNM to blame. So I want you to understand clearly that things are not as easy and simple as you see. When you see us fighting, and I want to tell you, so long as my leaders support me, I fighting them non-stop. They could ring heaven and hell. They could talk what they want. They could pelt boulders and stones. Are standing up and are fighting. And if they put us in the grave, are kicking up 6 feet down. Because we shall never, never surrender. The last thing I want to say is the EBC. The Elections and Boundaries Commission. I don't want to get me wrong. I knew a chairman of the EBC. I won't call his name. But I know personally that he was very, very close to Eric Williams. And you know something? When I look at the constituency of Maruga Tableland, for example, I wonder if his closeness to the PNM did not affect his boundaries. Because Maruga snakes down from Princess Down to Bastia, down to La Rouvin, to Marak, every PNM vote they could get, they put it in there. And if you take one street, St. Cross Village, St. Cross Road, and put my side, one side is Maruga Tableland, one side is Naparima. If you put my side in Naparima, we will win by 5,000 votes, Maruga Tableland. But they're wicked. They will do it so that we have to struggle and give our friend Michelle. She's doing a real good work. She's doing a real good job there. When I look at San Fernando West with its declining population, PDs from PNM San Fernando East are always brought. They bring PDs from East and bring it in San Fernando West. And they ignore Palmis, which would be 3,000 UNC votes, so San Fernando West could be a safe seat. You see how wicked the PNM is? And while we sleeping in the night, they are doing all kinds of machinations to ensure they remain in power. But ladies and gentlemen, we will not surrender. I assure you, Naparima stands with the leader and the UNC, and we will fight them in the land, in the bushes, in the trace, all over the place. We shall never surrender. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Give it up for MP Rodney Charles again. That's my MP. Now I have the esteemed pleasure to bring on my next MP. I told you earlier, I have 2 MPs. Now, MP Barry, as others, is one of my role models. Yes, being a young parent, you know, he would have given me pointers and some guidance, but I want to tell you all one story before I bring him on. In 2020, in the height of the pandemic, I received a call from MP Barry. I remember, this is exactly how it went. Alvin, I need you to find those children in your constituency whose parents may not be able to afford milk and Pampers, and you provide a list for me. Thank God for MP Barry, within 2 days, my office was filled with milk and Pampers. Now, I'm not advertising, we will try to help where we can help, but it shows you the type of man he is. So again, the PNM could say what they want, do what they want, just like it is with my friend from Naparima. Attack, because you know why? These are men of action, men who care about the people, men who understand representation. So please join me in welcoming him. MP for Princess Song, MP Barry for that.
political leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessa, the best Prime Minister Trinidad and Tobago has ever produced. Joining her this evening, gracing us in Princestown, is her husband, Dr. Gregory Bissessa. Let's give him a Princestown welcome. Parliamentary colleagues, we have joining us this evening, Vandana Mohit from Chaguanas East, Ravi Rataram from Couva North, all the way from St. Augustine, MP Khadija Amin, MP Rodney Charles from neighboring Naparima, and MP Michelle Benjamin from Maruga Tableland. I see also joining us this evening is the Chief Whip in the Parliament, the Member of Parliament for Pointe-a-Pierre, Dr. David Lee. Welcome. This evening, I also want to thank our chairman, the hard-working Councillor Gauri Rupnarayan, for hosting us here this evening, together with the councillors of the Princestown Regional Corporation, many of which you heard from this evening. Also gracing us as the chairman and councillors of the Mayaro Regional Corporation, which borders us not too far. And I'm also seeing the councillors of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation. So brothers and sisters of the UNC all, good evening. As you are very well aware, over the past few weeks I have been dealing with matters as it relates to the children's homes and community residences. I've been dealing with the issue of child abuse, neglect, exploitation of our nation's children as it relates to the Justice Judith Jones report. But I saw something very interesting happen when our political leader raised that issue. I saw the PNM, they started to jump up like Jack in a box, like if there was stinger nettle in their seats, when she raised the issue of the pedophile ring inside of the PNM. They became very, very uneasy in light of what was now being put in the public domain as it relates to the Justice Judith Jones report. And when they could not defend their inaction, having sat for 5 months, and then 6 weeks later saying that they are now coming up with a work plan, they could not defend the position they have taken. And when Mrs. Persad Bissessa said, we will not apologize for calling out the PNM for the pedophile ring that we are told, because those words were not Mrs. Persad Bissessa's, those words were not Barry Padarat's, it was not the United National Congress. These were persons who investigated issues of abuse in this country. That is where that information came from. But it was Camille Robinson Regis who went on a platform last week, Tuesday. And tonight from this platform, I want to tell Camille Robinson Regis, WPC Camille Robinson Regis, take note of this. You don't put cat to watch butter. You see, between 2001 to 2010, the Children's Authority, which is the arm, the operationalizing arm of the state that is mandated to protect, rehabilitate, and ensure our nation's children are safe and devoid of abuse and exploitation. It was Keith Rowley, Colm Imbert, and Camille Robinson Regis that sat down in a Manning cabinet after Bastille Pandey, Kamla Persad Bissessa, and Manohar Ramsaran, together with Ramesh Lawrence Maraj, passed 5 pieces of legislation protecting our nation's children, one of them being operationalizing the Children's Authority. By the end of 2001, we must not forget our history. In 2001, when Robinson took Mr. Pandey out of government with moral and spiritual values, what we then had happen, we then had a PNM government coming in, with UNC having passed all of that legislation to protect our nation's children. 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, and up to May of 2010, they refused. They sat on their hands refusing to enact that legislation. So today when they come to cry crocodile tears about how much they love and they care for children, I want to ask Camille Robinson Regis, in 2002, when you became a minister of government, did you take any of the findings of the SABGA report and take it to the police? You are now saying that the then Pandey administration did nothing, and there were all these findings of criminal conduct. So tonight we must ask Camille Robinson Regis, and I want to tell Bridget Anisette George, the Speaker of the House, what you will not allow us to say inside of the Parliament when we brought the motion last Friday in the interest of the children of Trinidad and Tobago, we are not afraid to say it outside of the Parliament. We have always told you that we will stand at the side of the people of Trinidad and Tobago and raise the burning issues that affect them most. And who are the most vulnerable people in our country, if not our nation's children? It took a Kamla Persad-Bissessar administration when Mrs. Persad-Bissessar became Prime Minister in 2010 to operationalize the Children's Authority. In my own constituency, when they do the national survey, we have the most amount of children that are differently abled in this constituency. We have among the highest issues and instances of abuse. When I became the MP here in Princestown, a teacher hung himself in a public cemetery. I don't know if you all remember that here in Princestown, after it was discovered that he was molesting the children in his class. It was in 2015, working with Mrs. Persad-Bissessar. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar said to me, she said, why don't you advocate for National Sex Offenders Registry? And that is where that idea was born. But the PNM is mortally afraid of that National Sex Offenders Registry, and we must ask ourselves why, in the context of the issues that have been raised as it relates to that pedophile ring inside of the PNM. Why are they so afraid of a National Sex Offenders Registry when we told them in 2015 to create the registry and make it public? They told us by 2017, well, they will consider making the registry. By 2018, they then brought legislation to create a registry, but refused to make it public. Do you know, just a few weeks ago, almost 7 years later, after we advocated for that sex offenders registry to be public, once more, putting the cart before the horse, a few weeks ago, after 7 years passed, and so many children were abused, they now brought legislation to make the registry public. Brothers and sisters, that is the modus operandi of the PNM. Who have they been hiding in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021? The PNM have always been, as Rowley told us, what is it, Cosa Nostra? That they will keep the secrets of their own, even if it means at the expense of the innocence of our nation's children. You see, the UNC can stand very proudly and with great conviction and say that we do not have a prime minister, or we have never had a prime minister who had to explain the circumstances under which he had his first child. We never had to go through that. We never had to explain issues and allegations as it relates to misconduct, sexual misconduct against any of our political leaders. Brothers and sisters, when the PNM's back is against the wall, we have always seen what their strategy is. And the issues as is contained in the Judith Jones report, many of the issues contained in there and the recommendations of that report are things that we have stood in the Parliament in 2015 to now advocating. When Mrs. Prasad Bisesa told them in 2015 that we had established the Children's Authority, and you now needed to take it a step forward to protect our nation's children by ensuring that the laws on our statute books are enacted. For 7 years, they have not proclaimed the legislation that gives effect to a licensing regime for children's homes in this country. What a licensing regime will do is that fit-for-purpose criteria will be applied for these children's homes in order to gain access to funding from the state, but also it will be able to regulate, supervise, and ensure that our nation's children are not being abused. For 7 years, they have not proclaimed that legislation. And who is responsible for proclaiming legislation in this country? It's not Kamla Prasad Bisesa. She is not the Prime Minister. The UNC is not the government. So Camille Robinson Regis, get your facts straight. So when you want to talk about Kamla Sushila Prasad Bisesa on a political platform, tell the children who has been abused by people right inside of the PNM what you have done to protect them. You went and you stood in the Parliament in 2002, Camille, on the 19th of November, and you placed on the Hansard that the Ministry of Social Development used the contents and recommendations of the SABGA report to effect a lot of the changes that was done in those ministries together with the formulating of those 5 pieces of legislation, which we call a package of children's legislation. But you see, they have spent 7 years doing nothing. They have been spending 7 years achieving nothing. They have been spending 7 years just spending billions and billions and billions of dollars, while you, the everyday man, woman, and child, cannot get water in your taps. You cannot get basic services in this country. They have now cut out the food card in many parts of this country. They have now cut out the social services grants, as Vandana has been telling us. They are only interested in friends, financiers, and family of the People's National Movement. My brothers and sisters, as I've said to you time and time again, we are not afraid of any of them. And we will fight them inside or outside of the Parliament, throughout the length and breadth of this country. We will continue these series of meetings because it's as though a renaissance is happening in the UNC, but that renaissance is reaching out to many parts of the country. When I look at the crowd, the massive crowd we have here this evening, so many others on the outside or on the streets, it tells you that change is coming to Trinidad and Tobago. But you must want that change for yourself. You must want that change for your children more than you want that change for anything else. Because if you do not stand up and fight today, you will be left with nothing to stand up and fight for at the end of this 5-year term of the People's National Movement. Brothers and sisters, I know that we are here in Princestown and we are always very happy to have our political leader. But I know you have always had so many challenges, especially in recent times. It is a stone's throw away from here that an elderly couple died, 185, 187, because a fire appliance could not reach in St. Julian, a stone's throw away, because of the incompetence and ineptitude of the PNM. For months, for weeks, for years, I have been writing, begging for these landslips to be addressed. The only time a landslip was addressed in Princestown was when Keith Rowley found himself in Maruga Tableland after Michelle Benjamin put a serious licking on the PNM. Keith Rowley stopped coming Maruga Tableland, so he had to stop using that Princestown Road. But that was the only time those landslips were addressed, and they patched it with the hope that they will win Maruga Tableland and then they will start some work. But because of the spite and the malice of the PNM, the people of Trinidad and Tobago in Moruga Tableland, Naparima, Mayara, Princestown continue to suffer. Brothers and sisters, those are some of the things I wanted to share with you this evening. As I've indicated to you, we'll share more as we continue going along. But this evening, I stand here very proud to say that I support and I endorse Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar as our political leader of this great party. There were times in this party, and Mrs. Persad-Bissessar will not tell you this because this is the type of person that she is. There were times in our own party when we had to look on our left and our right. Not at the PNM, you know. Sometimes at our left and our right. And Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, despite all of those challenges, she held a team together, both in government and both in opposition. And she has taken this party from strength to strength. And when you look across and you can hear young Khadija Amin, indomitable, fighting for the people of St. Augustine, standing in that parliament and telling the PNM where to get off, facing the wrath of Bridget Anisette George, an agent of the PNM herself. And then you have people like young Saddam Hussein, young Ravi Ratiram, young Vandana Mohit. And Vandana, I want to say to you tonight, many people did not know when we brought that motion of privilege against Hines last week. I often say to you, you do not hear on the television screens what are some of the things they say to us. But Vandana is somebody's child. She is somebody's daughter. She is Mrs. Persad-Bissessar's daughter because she's grown up in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago under the guidance of Mrs. Persad-Bissessar. And that is why we brought that motion of privilege against Hines. It cannot be that they disrespect and they degrade our young men and women in our party. So when we speak about sexual abuse, there's also verbal abuse, there's psychological abuse, and Hines and others who have been alleged to commit those acts, we will not stop and we will not sit down and allow that to continue, leaving our young MPs in the wilderness. So brothers and sisters, I ask you to stand strong with us. We are very strong, we are very resolute, that our party has one leader, our party has one mission, and that is to return Kamla Persad-Bissessar to the corridors of power. And we remain united here in Princestown. We'll remain united across the length and breadth of this country, because our only hope is restoring good governance through a strong, capable, and competent Prime Minister who can get the job done. So brothers and sisters, I thank you and may God continue to bless you.
Thank you very much, MP Barry. Now we've come to the moment you all have been patiently waiting for. Our next speaker is someone I hold dear to my heart, as everybody else here in this room tonight, the hundreds of you. The Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar is by far the best Prime Minister this country has ever seen. I'm nervous, pause. The first time I had the pleasure of introducing our leader was back in 2017 while I was still the research officer for Oropouche West. And I messed it up, I mumble, I fumble, because it's just the presence, the aura she emanates. It's amazing. So please stand in welcoming our political leader and the next Prime Minister, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
Wow, thank you very much, Princestown. Good night. Alvin, you did a great job tonight, Councillor. You said the first time you mumbled and you fumbled, but you were brilliant. Give your hands up to our young Councillor Alvin. And of course, to all our MPs, please have your seats. All our MPs who are here, all the councillors, some have come from other areas, but today, Chairman Gauri Rupnarayan, and the councillors of the Princestown Regional Corporation, a very special good night to you all for the great job that Princestown is doing in that corporation. And as Rodney told you, with very little resources. So please, let's hear it for the Princestown chairman and councillors. Well, I know Councillor Ramdan Nello spoke earlier, Councillor Derek and Chairman Gori. I thank MP Amin, MP Charles. Well, of course, we call Barry the pepper mouth. You all know why? Because Barry won a pepper eating competition. And since then, he's always on fire every time he speaks. So, my brothers and sisters, all UNC family, thank you very much for coming out in your numbers. You know, this morning when I saw all the rain, I thought maybe we get washed out or flood out, but I see the rain will not stop you, and the sun will always rise again. So Bellman, give it up for Bellman, who has been with us all the time, forever. So I'm happy to be with you in a kind of open meeting. I think the first one-on-one meeting we had was in the Congress we had in Vancouver last Saturday, and many of you would have attended. It was a fantastic Congress meeting, and this is the second time since the pandemic that we are actually meeting you face to face. And I think we must give praise and thanks to the good Lord that we can meet each other one-on-one and share some words. Look, I have a long speech here which I'll just put away. Let me just talk to you. I want to talk to you. You know, tomorrow we go to Parliament. My colleagues have shared with you the difficulties and the challenges we face in that Parliament. Do you know what bill we are going to be doing in that Parliament tomorrow? They are bringing a bill to Parliament tomorrow to allow CARICOM nationals, that is from Grenada, St. Vincent, all the CARICOM countries, they are cousins, brothers and sisters in the CARICOM. I have no problem. But those in the CARICOM, we all share a common history, a common thread, a common culture. Talk about the CARICOM, Bellman, not Venezuela. Talking about CARICOM. And they want to allow workers from the CARICOM Islands to come to Trinidad and Tobago to work. Now, nothing is wrong with that. But not at this time. Just 2 days ago, you fired over 400 TSTD workers. On the Rowley's watch, over 100,000, 120,000 persons have lost their jobs. So why you want CARICOM people to come here and work when Trinidad and Tobagonians can't get a job, when they're losing their jobs? So we will not support that bill tomorrow. We will not support it because we say, they always tell us, home first. Take care of your home. You know, there's a story. They say if you're flying on an aircraft and you get a dip and the oxygen drops, what do they tell you to do? If you're there with your child or your children, what is the first thing you must do? You must put on your mask first. And so I say home first, Rowley. I am not against the CARICOM. I am not against any Caribbean national, but I say home first. Jobs for people of Trinidad and Tobago first. And the people that want to allow to come, they are not like, with skills that are rare skills, specialist skills. They want to bring in people like security guards. They want to bring in people to work in those fast food stores. They want to bring in people to do the ordinary jobs that ordinary people in Trinidad and Tobago can do and will do. People are begging, they come to our offices, MPs will tell you, the councillors will tell you, please, I need a job for my child. My son, he has a wife, he has 2 children, he needs a job. And there's nothing we can do. But I can remind you of this. When we were in government, we created over 50,000 new jobs. And we did that without raising a single tax. That's important. This government's only strategy is tax, tax, tax. Borrow, 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 and spend, spend, spend. And spend where? For friends and family and financiers. So the ordinary people of this land, food prices every day, food prices every day. Last night someone was at my home, we had a little meeting, and he told me, Melvin is his name, he's up from Central. He said, leader, pressure. Melvin is a real big mouth guy. Eh? Leader, pressure. He said, listen, I used to be able to buy a whole chicken. Now I could only buy and eat chicken foot. He said, I can't buy whole chicken again. The price has gone so skyrocket high. And it's the same with all the items. Oil. Oil is a thing we all use, cooking oil. That has increased, several times that has increased. So food prices skyrocketing. Then crime out of control. And jobs, lots of jobs, and no creation of any new job. I think the only industry that is growing jobs is the criminal industry. There's more and more criminals. The commission now saying they have a new kind of gang. We heard about gangs. PNM knows about gangs well. They stood up in the parliament and they told us they brought an anti-gang bill. They said, we know every gang member. We know their names. We know where they live. We know everyone. So just pass this bill and we'll pick them up. The rest is history. We passed the bill. We gave them the support. And today, the gangs are more and more. And the acting commissioner of police tells us now a new kind of gang. A gang now that is specializing in home invasion. Do you understand what that is? You in your own yard, your little children playing in the yard. And home invasion, they just invade your homes in broad daylight. That's the new criminal enterprise. And this mindless Hines, as Minister of National Insecurity, cannot find one plan, one policy, one strategy. I want to remind you, when we were in government, serious crimes came down. We did it. We had the strategies. We brought the crimes down. So while I say we were able to increase jobs, we were also able to bring crime down. So what are they doing in this government? We have WPC Camille, also known as Credit Card Camille, also known as Wigs, yes, Wiggy. And there's another one, fertility, using the government credit card. Camille, you think we forgot? Using the government credit card when you're in government before to buy what? Fertility treatment. Girl, don't let me start on you, So stop calling my name on your platform. Stop calling my name. And what you so vexed about my name for? This lady went on a platform last week and 3 or 4 times, Kamla Sushila Prasad Bisesa. Isn't that a beautiful name? Yeah. What problem you have with my name? What's wrong with my name? Yeah, Camille. At least I have a name for my ancestors. Where you got yours from? Your name is that of a slave master. So be real, understand. We respect you, we respect ourselves. And as I told everyone last time I spoke down in the Pinal Rock Road Hindu School, be proud of who you are. Be proud of what you are. In this country, the people of this land, we have come from the greatest nations of the world. That is what will make us a greater nation and make us a great people. Why? Our forefathers came out of Africa. They came out of China. They came out of India. They came out of Europe, all over the world. We have a melting pot of people here, Camille. So leave my name alone. I like my name. I like my name. I don't want yours. You keep yours. And we are happy with our names. All our people are happy with their names, whether they came out of Africa, they came out of India, out of China. Leon Po is here tonight, I think. David Lee's here too. People from every great country in the world came here to build a better place for all of us to live. So let's praise and give thanks for all of our fathers who came, wherever they came from, who came here, settled here to make a better life for themselves and their children. Now I shared with you, I talked to you about the joblessness. I talked to you about the crime. I talk with you now about no plan, no vision, and no mission to create jobs, to create revenue streams, to make our country a better place. When we were in government, we had the highest inflow coming in of foreign direct investment. That helped us to bring in more revenue and to grow the economy. Under this government, we have minus FDI. You know what that means? The money flowing out. No investment coming in here. The last great investment we did, they want to take credit for it. That's the plant down in going down to Palaseco, Labrie, the Mitsubishi plant there. That was under my watch. Last one, not the plywood. They promised you plywood, and up to today we do not have the plywood factory. So their promises never materialize. PNM promises never materialize. They're very good at talking. Now, I shared with you some of the disasters in the legal field on several occasions. The last one I shared with you had to do with Ashton Ford and 2 other PNM persons who were appointed as foreign service officers abroad. Okay? They were appointed before we came into government in 2010, just on the eve of the election. And when we came into government, of course, they were terminated, as is a practice, the procedure, and the convention. When a new government comes into office, you recall all the foreign officers because the new government may have a different thrust, different policy, different mission, different things to do, and you appoint your own. Rodney will tell you he was our UN ambassador in New York, a great ambassador at that. And when we lost office, what happened, Rodney? They fired you? You came back. They called everyone back. So Ashton Ford, the daughter of Mr. Chambers, former Prime Minister, and another person, I can't remember, but 3 of them were straight PNM persons appointed in these diplomatic positions. We formed the government in May 2010, and then we recall them, as is a practice, a procedure, and the convention for these officers. They are not hired by putting out tenders. They're not recruited by interviewers. They are chosen and handpicked, whether under the PNM or whether under the NAR or whether under the UNC. So we brought these people home. They filed a case in the court against the government. And that case, you know what happened? We were still in government when they filed the case to say that they were wrongfully dismissed. Our then Attorney General, Anna Ramlogan, and other state lawyers were hired, and they filed a defense in the matter. Well, years, you know, these cases take time to come up. So PNM is in power, and the case comes up for hearing. You know what happened? And I think this is fraudulent behavior on the part of the office of the then Attorney General. They did not send a lawyer to defend the case. They did not file witness statements. Total negligence, which allowed Ashton Ford and others to collect millions of dollars because there was no defense on the day in court, on the days in court, and there were no witness statements. The judge said, well, there's no witness statements, no evidence on behalf of the state, therefore these guys won millions of dollars. You know who were their lawyers? A fellow named Kwamena. You know who's Kwamena? Rowley's lawyer. Thank you very much. And he's also down at Petrotrin in one of those companies that were formed. So they are collecting big fees because they were the lawyers for Ashton and the others. And the state, your dollars, taxpayers' dollars, have to be paid out. That, I'm saying, is negligence. And there should be some kind of investigation whether there was fraud. Why did the AG not send anyone to defend the case? The case was filed against the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago. That's how it's done. In civil proceedings must be brought in the name of the Attorney General or against the Attorney General. Sent no one to defend your taxpayers' dollars in that court. And then when I think Saddam raised it, they lied again. Boy, you ever see lies? It's worse than lies we have it. That government will lie, and when you catch them lying, they come back and they lie again, and it's lie upon lie upon lie. Saddam raised it. They lied and they said they were going to appeal it. Well, the time for appealing has passed, and they have not appealed the judgment of the court. So they allowed their friends again, they handpicked people to take your dollars, taxpayers' dollars, to the tune of millions. Now I have another one to share with you, and I'll just tell you that this government has placed our country, this country, Trinidad and Tobago, in a constitutional crisis. I will say no more now, but I will share with you on Monday. Again, in the legal field, they've breached every tenet of jurisprudence and of the law. not just here, but abroad. They have breached everything. I will keep that for Monday night, because I'm still putting the bundle of documents together, but I'm telling you, it is shocking. When we thought Faris was bad, well, this new AG is even worse, as they say. He's worse than Faris could ever be. So I'll expose them, and we'll share that with you. So no jobs. Your infrastructure is crumbling. The land slips here, Maruga Tableland, all over. The flooding, they're warning now. I think they've put out 81 communities. They say will be hard hit in this hurricane season, which has now started. 81 communities. They know where the communities are, but they will not do anything about it. And I really want to empathize with all the councillors, because many times we blame the councillor because they're not fixing the road, the potholes, the landslips, the flooding, whatever it may be. But remember, as Rodney told you and the others, it is not them. It is the PNM, wicked PNM will not resource the county councils, the regional corporation. They will not resource them. So you end up blaming the council, and you say, I call him 1,000 times and he wouldn't fix the pothole, he wouldn't fix the landslip. No. And then your MPs, as opposition MPs, you know, we had brought a proposal when we were in government, and Rowley and his MPs said, no, no way. That proposal was for every MP's officer to have, I think it was $10 million. Not for themselves, but to help the community. Because at the moment, MPs have no resources whatsoever, except from their own pockets, to help people. So we said we could take that. The constituency people could decide, well, look, you have $10 million a year. We want to spend it on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When there's flooding, we want to spend it on hampers. If there's a very bad emergency, a school that needs fixing, we can spend it there. But no, they didn't want that. Because they know what it is. They do not want the UNC MPs to have any say in anything. But they are there, as the Auditor General's report will show, that all the COVID grants were given out were not properly accounted for. Were not properly accounted for. And then when they were sending hampers to us, as MPs, they sent some, what was it called, Ambari? The basket, the food basket, the green hampers with the veg and so on. You know, they were sending them to PNM offices, not to the MPs. PNM constituency office, to individual people. There was a girl up in Central who had run as a local government candidate. Sharda, thank you very much. She got, council's not getting, MPs got some, and then when the audit is done, the amount that they gave to themselves will far outstrip anything else that happened for the rest of the UNC constituencies. But listen, time is longer than twine. And I tell you, God don't sleep. He only wears pajamas. And so if we stay together and stick together and work together and unite, let us go forward together to remove this wicked, incompetent, corrupt government. We must tell them enough is enough is enough. Enough is enough is enough. And you know, UNC people, you don't like to behave bad. I'm not asking to behave badly, but you have to stand up. You have to stand up and be counted and talk for yourself. Don't depend on me and the MPs and the councillors and the senators. Look, we need every one of you, every single one. We have to come together and unite so that we can remove this wicked regime. We must remove those who encourage a pedophile national movement. Let us not forget that. They want to blame me for what is happening now, what happened then. Robert Sabga made it very clear that the things he reported on were before Mr. Pandey came into office in 95, before I came into office. Barry has shared with you the things we did, the amount of legislation we passed, the administrative things that we did. A lot of things happened. You have that Judas Jones report. Somebody just sent me a little meme. They say, why is everybody interviewing Robert Sabga? Why? When that was, 25 years ago, 1997. Why is no one interviewing Judah Jones? Why? Why you want to go back 25 years when you have a report today to now, and nobody's talking to Judah Jones? Nobody. So every day Sabga, Robert Sabga, poor fellow, name calling everywhere, but he's a brave man. He did what he did his job, and then those of us who were in the cabinet, we did what we could have done, and then we went out of government. Remember that? After we went out, who went in? PNM, Pedophile National Movement. And what did they do? They now find out there's a 97 report. I tell you, they lie, and then they lie, and then they lie. So Camille Plain, Miss Innocent, WPC lady, Camille, as Barry told you, came to the parliament when the PNM went back in office then. And she quoted from the report, and she said the PNM government was doing the things in the report. Today she has amnesia. She has amnesia. She forgets that. Rowley was in the parliament when we passed those bills. He has amnesia. And then he shifts the goalpost. When they lie and they get caught lying, what they do? They shift the point. So first he said, we hid the report. Remember that? He and Camille, we hid Sabga's report, 97 report. That's the first thing. Right? Well, nothing is further from the truth. When we showed that in the parliament on numerous occasions after that report was mentioned several times in the parliament. The bills were passed, the law was passed. When we hold them there, we played the words of Camille and all of them, who was in the parliament, who voted for the bills. Then he comes to say, oh, well, Barry lied. Barry said it was laid in parliament. He shifted now. He shifted the issue to make it look like that's now the issue. That was never the issue. The issue is that you lied in the Hansard, you Rowley, in the parliament when you said that UNC and Kamla, boy, they love Kamla. I think they just love my name. They can't get a day without calling my name. The UNC and Kamla hid the report. That is what is in the Hansard record from about 2 weeks ago. He interrupted the midterm review, the budget debate, to come and lie that the UNC and Kamla hid the report. There was no issue about whether it was laid in parliament, not laid in parliament. They said we hid it and we did nothing. Well, the rest is history. I think you all are probably fed up of hearing about this. So I want them to talk to me about the Judith Jones report now. Tell me what you're doing. You're sitting on that report and children are still in the homes. The Judith Jones report said that certain homes, children should be removed from those homes. You know, up to today, those children are still there. Children who are being abused, but you want to talk about 25 years ago. Children being abused now, and you are not taking them out of their homes. Have a heart. Have a heart for the children, man. Take them out of those molesters. Take them away from those homes. Why are they still there? Why are they still there? I think the Commissioner of Police, was it Barry, told the Parliament in a Joint Select Committee that the children were still there. And the abusers. Huh? And the abusers. Well, they're still there with whom? The molesters and the abusers. Certain homes, the report said, shut them down now. Take our children away from these monsters now. Now, you can do it now. You have the authority. We passed the law. You have the power. You can have them removed from these monsters in those homes. But no. PNM, Pedophile National Movement. What are you afraid of? So I think we have heard enough about Sabga and Sabga report. I want to know what's happening to our children now and the homes where they're being abused. That's what I want you to come and tell me. That is what you need to tell the country. And Madam crying crocodile tears, the minister. And you know who is a real minister in charge of all those things? None other than the Prime Minister himself. That part of the ministry is under the office of the Prime Minister. And MP Ayana is telling people she's crying all about it. I told her last week, you stop crying and do your job. And if you cannot do your job, get out. Get out. Enough is enough. Go. Just go. Just go. So if we sound angry, there's a lot to be angry for. There's a lot, because when it comes to children, you know, somebody shared something, they say, listen, if somebody cuss up Barry and thing, and I know that person, I say, well, that's okay, you're still my friend. If somebody come and cough Rodney, I mightn't like it, but I'll tell you, you're still my friend. But when you touch a child, you can never be my friend. I want nothing to do with you when you interfere with our children. You can never be our friends. So there are people in high places who are molesting and abusing our children. And I call on the government, act now. And if you will not act now, enough is enough. Let us band together. Let us unite together and say, Rowley, come down there. Come down from there. Come down, Rowley. Enough is enough. Rowley and his cabinet has to go. I shared with you all the things members of his cabinet are doing. We have the WPC lady lying and doing nothing. We have the other one crying, Ayana. We have Faris still cannot account how he sold his car but never registered the selling of the car to his friend, Kewal Singh. You have Foster, who is under investigation, not about one matter, several matters. That whole cabinet, whole bunch of incompetent persons, each one, each time. And I promise you, on Monday, I'll tell you more about the new Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago. God bless you. Let's stay together, work together, and go safe and be strong. I thank you very, very much.
Never let your problems get you down. Stay focused and hold your ground. Because what will kill you should make you stronger. So my problems is like steroids.
Alright, so now that brings us to the end of our program. I want to thank you all very much for coming out here tonight. We have refreshments, free doubles outside. We kindly asking the activists, you know who you are, to stay back for a few. The boss would like to meet you, yeah? So thank you all so much for coming out tonight, and please get home safely.